G'day again, because yes, I've just hit upload on my first video about kangaroos and other explanations, and here I am again, same night, 5 minutes after well, not even 5 minutes, about 1 minute after I finished the last one. But yes, I did say I had a lot to talk about, so that's why I look exactly the same. Still haven't had a shower. Hair still looks like a bloody mess. But anyway, so yes, I did say there was a lot to talk about, but here goes. So one of the things that has come up a lot, probably ever since 2019, and it's the only reason I'm actually raising this is because it stems back to one question, considering what we're all going through at the moment and where is all of this headed. So the question is, do you think the world is falling apart, and do you think it can be fixed? And if so, how? Sound familiar? For those that have seen the other video. Anyway, I thought I'd throw my weight in on this because it is a fascinating question, and everyone can answer the first half. Not many people can answer the second. So, is the world collapsing? Well, they're pretty obvious. The answer is yes. And in a whole manner of ways. And I remember having this discussion many times. Even back in 2020, 2019, etc., when all of a sudden, probably the crowd that's still talking about it to this day, suddenly decided that, oh my gosh, there's something going wrong with the world. And it's kind of, a lot of us sort of started talking about the fact that it's not like a Hollywood movie. I mean, in any Hollywood movie, what do we get? We wake up, oh, great day. Beep, beep, beep. That's the alarm going off. You get up, you brush your teeth, you do your business, you have your breakfast, you jump in the car, go to work. All pretty normal sort of stuff. And then halfway through the day, something happens, and by that night, the streets are just run riot with a bunch of people just going crazy. Oh my God, the world's ending. Okay. We're all still getting up at the buzzer, but the world hasn't gone insane just yet. And there's a damn good reason for that. So back in 2020, a lot of us were still on Facebook, still kind of looking at YouTube, but it wasn't a huge thing. X, Twitter was just doing its usual thing. It was nothing really unusual about it. American politics was rubbish, and it's still rubbish now, so nothing's really changed. Australian politics is pretty much the same. None of us really had any interest prior to it. Now we're all so-called experts on it because the more you dig, the more you want to find out. And realistically, something changed in a way that I think at the end of the day, they were trying to push us all apart with lockdowns, stay at home, blah, blah, blah. And even to the point where you couldn't go and visit your sick grandma in the nursing home. So it was this whole push to segregate everyone around the world as much as you could. The problem was that it actually brought a lot of us closer, people that we'd never probably have ever met, from all corners of the globe, from all corners of our own country, suddenly saw something that not a lot of other people did. And even though we were the small minority, there were a lot of incredibly smart, incredibly talented, and incredibly brainy people who basically saw something in what was going on and started questioning everything. And then they started reaching out. And of course, a lot of the platforms pretty much hammered it down. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. We weren't allowed to talk about certain things. So code words, other words sort of started rising up. But then, we all discovered alternative platforms, and all of a sudden it was like walking into a whole new world, because as much as we were increasingly getting frustrated in our own homes, it's really hard to sort of be able to talk about it, because no one else believes you. Everyone thinks you're insane until you start talking to others. And it's like, oh my God, they actually talking about the same thing I am, and they believe in the same things I do. And all of a sudden, it goes beyond that again. It goes to the point that you actually have common interests. You have common music interests. You have common reading interests. It's mind-blowing that you can have a conversation with someone who lives 10,000 miles away from you, who may as well be walking in your same shoes every day, because they're the same damn person. And of course, it just went on and on and on like that. But the stuff they were finding out was incredible. And it wasn't just conspiracy stuff. This was stuff written by people with more degrees than I could point a stick at. They were incredibly smart people. And they were going, no, this is, and it wasn't just about what happened back then. It was about everything else. And it was suddenly realized that this was going to be something that was going to lead up to a certain year. And most who are sort of even watching this video will understand what that year is. And it hasn't stopped. Australia had its Canberra. Canada had its truckers convoy. We tried to get a truckers convoy going here, but it was, it fell apart. There were some really good people involved, but it didn't quite reach the same stature. And we had to it was almost like we had to keep on going with certain events, because otherwise we were going to lose the interest of people who were there. And most of it was driven by Victoria, who had the longest lockdowns in the world. I think it stretched for nearly a year and a half or something like that. It was just hugely long. But then after Canberra, Victoria stopped the lockdowns. Canberra did that. And that was way more than, that was probably about 1.5 million people that went to Canberra. Although it was never actually those numbers. The news media and everyone else lied about it, but it was pretty clear to everyone there that there was a lot of people there. But once the lockdowns stopped and everyone went back to work, it was basically a situation of, oh, well, life's gone back to normal. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And that was the biggest mistake that a lot of people made. And I think it's what some channels call normalcy bias. In other words, things are normal. What are you worried about? Even now we've got the Australian budget that's coming up very shortly, which is apparently going to be horrendous. Just like every other country in the world, we are suffering. And they're just basically going to hit another group of people that they haven't actually already hit yet. And the more you sort of learn about all this stuff, the more you realise what they're doing is they're going down a list. It might be 100 things, and we might only be on number 60 by now. We've still got 40 more to go. If they did it in one hit, sure, we'd have riots on the street. It'd be a no-brainer. But that's not the way they've done this. They've done it in a very controlled manner, such that, the vast majority of people just understand that it's just getting harder and harder to live, but they don't really understand why. All they know is that it's Iran's fault, or it's somebody else's fault. You know, it's always somebody else's fault, but they never actually put everything in the one basket and go, oh, so this is all connected, is it? So the question is this world ending? Well, yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, it was all put in writing back in 2020, 2021. We all knew it. I mean, we still know it. I don't understand why anyone's even questioning it. It was in black and white. It's been in black and white for, 2026? For 5 years now. And if you think it's going to end now, no. We've still got a bit of time to go yet. So, yeah, there was a lot of things that were put in black and white back then, and a lot of it is gone. I mean, like someone I used to know, she used to say, print it off. If you see it and it's interesting, print it off. And maybe I should have, but I didn't, because I'd have a house full of paper by now. And I didn't save it either. So, who's the dumbass now? But yeah, there were timelines in black and white, and it was put out publicly. I mean, it for all these people who were saying, oh my God, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, here's the website. Go and have a look. It's like, yeah, but that's just a fake website. It's like, I can't help you. Like, seriously, if you go to that website by a trusted organisation and there it is in black and white and you still don't believe it, I don't know what else to say. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. Just don't come running to me when it all eventually happens exactly as they've said it will. So, yeah, and I can't see it changing. And it's a bit like these data centres. Like, at one stage, the question was asked, how are they going to control us? Like, let's give you an example, right? Okay, you go to a grocery store. You buy a carton of milk, a piece of meat, or maybe a T-bone steak for dinner, right? Now, according to this documentation, you're only allowed to have one piece of meat every month. Real meat, yeah. So what's to stop you from going, I don't just want one piece of meat, I want 3 or 4. So you go to another shop the same day, and you get to that shop and you buy a carton of milk and you buy another T-bone. And the shop says, no, you can't buy that because you've already bought one piece of meat. How do they do that? How do they control what you're buying that quickly? And bearing in mind, and I want you to really think about this, right? There's 300 million Americans. There's about 28 million Australians. Now, they're not just doing one transaction in a day. They're doing maybe 3 or 4. So if you go 2 transactions a day, right, that's 600 million transactions per day, which is millions of transactions per minute, per second, etc., etc. Now, how do you control that? Well, it's really simple. You can't, as a human, control it. But you can if you run it through a data center, who basically has to automatically, within a second, basically compare what you bought that day and then tell the computer at the shopping centre that you're standing in that you're not allowed to buy that because you've already bought one of them at a different shop. It's not like it's the same shop, it's a different shop. They need those data centres to be able to do stuff like that. They need to be able to control what you buy, how much you're buying, and when you're buying it. Right? It's not just a complete record of what you look at on YouTube or what your driver's license is doing or what your, anything else is doing. It's a complete picture of your entire financial situation and what you're spending your money on, when and where. This is where it's going. right? And this is why they need those data centers. You can talk about using it for military organizations, etc., but without those data centers, they can't do this sort of stuff because it's impossible. You just can't have a human do that sort of checking instantaneously. And you can't, you need AI for it as well, because it needs to know you particularly, and it needs to be able to do these things thousands of times a second, because that's how many transactions are happening. But it's not just that, is it? It's basically tying it all into your electric car and where you're driving, because you basically are what we call geofenced. Because the question that came up a while ago was well, okay, yes, you can sort of certainly do certain barriers in a city, but what happens once you're 100 k's, 200 k's outside of a city? How do you stop anyone from going anywhere? You need, I mean, everyone can fill their car up with fuel. Oh, there's no fuel, or the fuel is minimized, or it's too expensive. Geofencing? Possibly. I don't know. Or you're forced into an electric car because all of a sudden fuel's at $3 a litre, or in America, 5 or 6. Well, you imagine when it gets to $10 a gallon, right? We're already paying $16 a gallon here in Australia. So, whoop-de-doo. I mean, what do? I live 2 hours out of a city. If I've got to go to the city, well, I've got to go to the city. That's 450 k's there and back. That's at $16 a gallon. Think about that. So if you're up to $10 a gallon because the fuel's run out, or there's no fuel coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, or the Bandar Abbas Strait, or whatever they are, well, you're geofenced. Sorry, that's just a fact. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go on summer holidays, are you? Like you used to. And good luck catching a cruise liner these days. God knows what you can catch. So yeah, holidays. And you want to catch a flight instead. We'll just get a hire car when we get there. Saves all the money travelling there. But hang on a sec. Spirit Airlines just went down. Delta are basically already looking at cutting back. So your chances of actually going anywhere are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. See, it's a squeeze. It's an overall slow squeeze. I mean, it's a bit like that stage we went through when, you catch a 737 to somewhere and the door falls off, or the engine falls off, or whatever. It's this mindset that I'm not going to travel by plane. God knows what could happen. And then in 2019, 2020, we used to have problems with cruise liners. Everyone would go on a cruise liner, everyone would get sick, and then you're stuck on the cruise liner for several weeks. So guess what happened to the cruise industry? Fell in a massive hole. But people didn't want to go on cruises anymore. But gradually normalcy bias kicked in and everyone wanted to go on a cruise again. Well, guess what's happened now? People are getting sick on a cruise liner again. So those people that booked tickets on their cruise, this is not just happening with food, and it's not just happening with inflation, and it's not just happening with power and things like that. It's an overall lifestyle squeeze. It's not just one thing. It's one thing after the other thing after the other thing. So yes, the world is falling apart. The biggest question, and the one that's I'm going to say it's impossible to actually physically answer, is what do we do about it? Because The obvious answer is, let's just start again. Well, yeah, that's the easy way out, isn't it? So the problem with that is that if you're going to start again, you can't have the same system. Like, and I'm talking from the ground up. I'm talking your legislation. I'm talking about absolutely everything. And the funny thing is that that's exactly where this is headed to. They are looking at stopping everything. They're looking at a complete and utter starts with S, ends in T. You know what I mean? The problem is, who's actually organising that? See, a lot of people are going to jump to it because they're going to go, oh, well, the system was broken anyway. So, it'd be nice to start again. Well, that's great. But if you're going to restart something, then you kind of don't really want the same people who are running it now to organise and start the new one. Because all they're going to do is basically get rid of the bits that didn't work for them, not for you, not for me, not for the kids. In the first place, they're going to start it again to suit them, not us. So, but the problem is, who is them? And that's really, see, the more you question all this stuff, the more it just keeps on, you create more questions with each question to a certain extent. And that's where it becomes a problem, because there's been a lot of great ideas. We would like to get rid of voting, get rid of all this sort of stuff and actually put it back into the people's hands. But that's what the American Constitution did. And clearly they're on their way to actually removing that. And that's a bit of a fight in America, but not elsewhere. Like, they're seriously trying to remove the Constitution. And this was raised probably back in 2022, I think, because there were questions asked about it. And there's been a lot of videos about it as well. And most Americans will sit there and go, oh yeah, but that's impossible. Well, I'm sorry, but look back on the last 5 years and tell me that's not been impossible. I mean, how do you get away with all this stuff? And you do it in front of everyone's eyes. And people just don't see it. We started back in 2019, 2020, and we estimated that maybe we made up about 5% of the population. I still don't honestly think we've gotten to 10 yet. Yes, there's a lot more people that have come on board, no doubt about that. And to be honest with you, the Canberra thing, the Canadian truckers, and a variety of other things have opened up a lot of people's eyes. But there's still a lot who basically go, oh, yeah, but, I've got to go and pick up the kids from school now. They know, but they don't want to know. They don't want to dig deep. They kind of want to hold on to that core value that they've sort of been raised in. And like a lot of people said, the biggest issue is that we've been in peacetime. And I mean, seriously, forgetting about the Gulf War, forgetting about the current conflicts, etc., we've not had a world war since 1945. And that was a conflict that involved the entire war. Now, a lot of people will say we're in that now. Well, I'm sorry, but driving around most of Western society, you'd never see it. I mean, sure, there's a lot of disagreements between parties. In America, it's between the Democrats and the Republicans. In Australia, it's Liberal versus Labor. I mean, same colours, different bird, or same bird, different colours. But certainly not something which can bring an entire country together and put all its energy towards. We've not had that since 1945. And we've gotten so used to things just being normal that we've forgotten what it's like to have things not normal. And so we cling on to the very thing that we're losing a grip of, and we're losing it fast. And I don't want to come across all doomy and gloomy and all the rest of it, because that's not me. I love going bush. I mean, I'm quite happy to sit in a freaking chair and watch the stars and the satellites and that sort of thing. I love nature. I really do. But I'm sorry to say, but this is going to happen. And it's been planned for a long, long, long time. And the timelines are working. I wish I'd kept all that paperwork, but I didn't. So, yeah, I don't really have an answer, because it just raises more questions. If you're going to change a system, the only way to change it is to remove the entire system that's currently there. And that doesn't just include words on a piece of paper. It includes the people who actually run that system. You've got to get rid of everything. And I'm not trying to incite anything other than the fact that there's a lot of people and there's not a lot of them. It's just, I don't know. It's a wonderful society that we live in, but it's just going to shit, and that's just the facts. Does it need to be changed? Yes, it does. But are we maybe 10, 15% of people going to do it? Sorry, no. You need 70%, 80%, and our numbers just never have been that high. It's just a fact. So in the meantime, all we can really do is do what we're doing. Enjoying life, paying our bills, paying our taxes, doing the right thing. And maybe enjoying a bit of camping and stuff like that. Enjoy life. Enjoy what it has to offer. Because I don't know how to answer that. But I'm going to leave it there, because this has already gone long enough, and I could talk forever on this stuff. Seriously. It's been something I've been talking about for a long, long time. And it's not just me I worry about. I mean, I'm 54 years old. I'm single. I don't have kids. What am I fighting for? I don't know half the time. To be brutally honest, I really don't. I don't understand it. But I'm clearly fighting for something or someone. And it might even be for people I've never met before. For the ones that aren't awake, who don't know what's going on. Because if I'm not fighting, who is? Who's going to do it for them? Are they going to wake up one morning, go to work, everything's fine, the birds are singing, the sun's out, and then by lunchtime it all goes to crap? And then they're going to turn around and go, well, whose fault was it? And if somebody says, I knew this was going to happen 5 years ago, why didn't you do anything about it? Well, we're damn well trying, and we've been trying. And like somebody I once knew said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is about us doing our little bit as much as we possibly can, doing it all legally, doing it all by the book, because that's the right way to do it. To try and wake up as many people as we can, because it's going to be a whole lot easier from our point of view, because the less people that come running at me with a stick, the better. And I'm pretty sure that's the same with all of you guys too. So, but anyway, have fun. Second video done, and the first one's probably not even uploaded yet. So this might be a tomorrow night one. Until then, I'll catch you later.